How do you like your deadlifts? I like mine like I like my coffee. In this video, we will talk about different types of deadlifts, what they are, why you should choose a certain variation, and tips for how to execute them. Deadlifts is a foundational compound exercise, working your hamstrings, glutes, and muscles of the posterior chain. I'll take you through 7 variations of deadlifts. Some deadlift variations are used as standalone exercises, others as accessories. Conventional deadlifts. A conventional deadlift is like a good black coffee. No thrills, does the job. Conventional deadlift is the lift that you usually test your 1 rep max on, and if you are into powerlifting, this is your bread and butter. This exercise is classic, but don't be fooled, it's quite technical. If you're new to lifting, it is my strong advice that you work with a trainer to get a correct technique. Done incorrectly, heavy conventional deadlifts can do more damage than good. As to some tips, if you were to remember one thing from this entire video, keep your back flat. This applies to all deadlifts, but is super important for conventional deadlifts as it's most frequently where people lift heaviest loads. I've paid for a year of lifting with a round back with 2 years of lower back pain. Unless you're a pro powerlifter whose livelihood depends on a lift, if you see a little bit of rounding, drop down the weight until your back is flat, as you will need your back for the rest of your life. The second tip relates to the first one. Often, a round back can indicate that you're not keeping your core tight enough. To help a better core brace, firstly, perform core activation exercises prior to your lifts, like bird dog or dead bug. Secondly, do core work a couple of times a week to strengthen it. And thirdly, don't forget that bracing your core doesn't mean just squeezing your abs. It also means locking your pelvic floor. It's the same squeeze that you feel if you're trying to stop peeing midstream. Lastly, find the correct hip position that is not too high and not too low like a squat, somewhere between your knees and shoulder level. This starting position is important for creating a good hip hinge. Sumo deadlifts. This is your latte of deadlifts. Some people just prefer them that way. One of the reasons to include this variation is that it comes with additional glute engagement compared to conventional deadlifts. Plus, it helps to strengthen your adductors. This exercise also puts less pressure on your lower back, so if you have back issues, sumos can be a go for you. The first tip here is again back related. To keep your back straight, think about pushing your chest forward at the bottom of the movement and keeping the same position in your upper back throughout the movement. Tip number 2, get the most out of that glute squeeze as you rise to the top. As mentioned, this exercise is excellent for building strong glutes. The more control you have, the more you squeeze, the more muscles you activate, the better your results. Try it out and let me know how you went in the comments. Snatch grip deadlifts. This is a strong Italian espresso early in the morning. Incredibly effective, but not everyone can stomach it. This is a more challenging variation compared to conventional deadlifts and usually executed with less weight. For me, it's about 70% of my weight for conventional deadlifts. With this exercise, you can increase upper back recruitment and it's great for strengthening your grip. It also allows more glute recruitment, as due to the wide grip position, you have to move hips further back and drop deeper to pick up the bar. Plus, the bar has a slightly longer distance to travel, increasing the time under tension. As to my tips, number 1, pinch your shoulder blades into the spine and keep the posture throughout the movement as you drive the bar up and lower it back down. And tip number 2, you might have to drop your hips a bit lower compared to your hip position in conventional deadlift. You might have to play around to find that sweet spot for your glute engagement. Romanian deadlifts. An RDL is like a mocha. It's nice and sweet, can be used as an entry-level lift, but also loved by advanced lifters who often include them for dessert. Use a lighter load compared to conventional deadlifts. This is an accessory exercise which you're gonna do for lots of repetitions. So start lighter, you can always add more weight. Why include this exercise? For the beginners, particularly if you're starting without a coach, use Romanian deadlift to learn how to do a hip hinge. This will help you in learning to execute conventional deadlifts down the track. RDLs are very common in my training. They're great for hypertrophy training as you are able to isolate more into hamstrings and glutes compared to a conventional deadlift. RDLs can be performed with a barbell, dumbbells, resistance bands, or even a broomstick if you're a beginner. A few tips here. Firstly, your hip hinge. With less on the bar or your dumbbells, you can concentrate on creating a perfect hip hinge and get as much squeeze out of your glutes and hamstrings as possible. Secondly, your tempo. Slow down your tempo on the eccentric phase for more engagement. If you're a beginner, this would allow you to better control the movement as you're learning the right technique. If you're an advanced lifter, you know it. It's the eccentric action that creates stimulus for muscle growth. Play with these tempos. Lower the bar to the count of 2 and up to the count of 1. Or lower the bar to the count of 4 and up to the count of 1. And feel that burn. Stiff leg deadlifts. A stiff leg deadlift is like a cappuccino with that firm foam of milk at the top. Want to get controversial? Ask a gym junkie what the difference is between a Romanian deadlift and a stiff leg deadlift. Some say it's the same exercise, others that the only difference is the range of motion. I'll let you form your own opinion on it. I'll work off the assumption that if it's not the same exercise, the main difference is that RDLs involve some bending of your knees, while in stiff leg deadlifts, your knees are straight. Logic! Again, you use lighter load compared to conventional deadlifts. Why include them? As your knees stay straight in stiff leg deadlifts, this means that your hips stay higher, putting more load on your lower back and hamstrings. So you might consider using this variation for isolating more into those areas. My one and only tip here is please make sure your lower back stays safe. Single leg deadlift. Single leg deadlift is like an affogato. If you haven't tried it, you're missing out. This is my hot tip of the video. Make sure you do sets of unilateral work in your programs. In other words, perform single leg or single arm variations. So why include single leg deadlifts? First off, like with any unilateral exercise, single leg deadlifts will help you with creating the balance between the two sides of the body by hitting one side of your body at a time. Weaknesses become very obvious as you perform a unilateral lift. By strengthening your weaker side through unilateral work, you will correct muscle imbalances and improve on your bilateral lifts. Secondly, single leg deadlifts help you achieve a greater range of motion. The arc of the movement on the single leg deadlift allows your hips to bend further, activating more of the hamstrings. Thirdly, by challenging your balance, single leg deadlifts will work your core harder compared to bilateral lifts, which means a better foundation for all of your lifts and is helpful in terms of the aesthetics. Some tips. Firstly, to make the exercise safe and effective, keep your hips square and aligned and your back straight. Your core muscles have to kick in hard to prevent rotation from occurring. Secondly, if you're struggling to balance, you can hold on to something for stability at the beginning. Also, you can use a kick leg stance as an alternative. In terms of loading, you can choose to use weights in both hands, which is the easiest for balance, or in one hand, ipsilaterally, meaning same leg and same hand, which will challenge your balance, or contralaterally, meaning opposite leg and opposite hand, which will challenge not just your balance but also rotation control. Deficit deadlifts. You can use them with any variation of deadlifts that we have already discussed. This is like a double shot of espresso. Extremely effective, but you need to graduate to them. In terms of the weight that you lift, I suggest using something marginally lighter compared to a variation without an elevation. We like this variation because it provides an increased range of motion, meaning more time under tension and more glute and hamstring engagement. That's all from me. What is your favorite lift? Drop me a line in the comments. If you have questions about deadlifts or training generally, leave them below and I'll get back to you. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and share this video because sharing is caring. See you next time. Do I need another coffee? How many deadlift variations are there? Conventional sumo, snatch grip, deficit Romanian, stiff leg, single leg, RDLs, kick leg RDLs. It's really hard today, I don't know why. Go up again. As you drive the bar up and what? Bad hair day. That was a struggle. The reason to include stiff leg RDL, to train your core and keep your back set. That's a lot of back safe. We like healthy backs and protect your back. See you next time. Without the click. See you next time.